A friendship of 10 years can be a powerful thing, built on a foundation of shared memories, trust, and mutual support. But what happens when that foundation is tested not by a misunderstanding, but by a calculated act of betrayal? And what happens when the person who broke that trust decides to send an itemized invoice for the friendship itself? This is a story about a dream wedding, an empty chair, and a bill that no one saw coming. Our storyteller and her husband, both 25, had planned the wedding of a lifetime. The location was Bali, Indonesia, a paradise of lush landscapes and serene beaches. A destination wedding is a significant ask for any guest list, and they knew this. So, to make it possible for their closest friends to celebrate with them, they made an incredibly generous offer. They would pay for their friends' plane tickets and their week-long hotel stays. This was not a small expense. Each plane ticket alone cost around $2,000. Among the invited was a woman we'll call Gemma. Gemma was not just any friend, she and the bride had been close for over a decade. When the invitation came, Gemma was thrilled. She asked if her new husband, John, could come along. The bride happily agreed, and while Gemma and John paid for his ticket, the bride covered Gemma's $2,000 flight and her hotel room for the week, a value of several $100s more. Everything was set for a beautiful reunion and a landmark celebration. The guests arrived in paradise. The days leading up to the ceremony were filled with excitement and anticipation. But when the big day finally came, as the bride prepared to walk down the aisle, she noticed something was wrong. 2 seats that should have been filled were empty. Gemma and John were nowhere to be found. They didn't call. They didn't text. They simply weren't there. The hurt was immediate and sharp. This was one of the most important days of her life, and one of her oldest friends had ghosted her at her own wedding. After the ceremony, once the initial shock wore off, she reached out to Gemma, needing to understand why. The answer she received was breathtaking in its audacity. Gemma explained that since she and John couldn't afford their own honeymoon, this trip to Bali was the perfect opportunity. And on the day of the wedding, John simply decided he didn't feel like going. The presence of a wedding, Gemma said, would have ruined the illusion that this was their romantic getaway. Our storyteller was stunned. The free flight, the free hotel, it wasn't a gift for Gemma to enjoy a vacation. It was a gift so that she could be present for her friend's wedding. The trip was the means, not the end. The friendship that had spanned 10 years suddenly felt like a one-way street. After wrestling with the pain and the sheer disrespect of it all, she began to consider her options. The financial loss was significant. Was it possible to take Gemma to small claims court for the money she had spent? Before taking such a drastic step, she knew she needed proof. A verbal confession wouldn't be enough. So, she crafted a careful message, designed to get Gemma to admit to her actions in writing. She wrote, "Hey, sorry for being so distant, but I just wanted to talk to you about Bali. I'm hurt that you didn't show up to the ceremony. I pulled a lot of strings to ensure that you could come and then you didn't show up. Did you think I paid for the trip just so you could honeymoon with John?" Gemma's reply was the final nail in the coffin of their friendship. She wrote back, "I've missed you a lot and I know the trip was for your wedding, but John didn't want to go because he felt like your wedding ruined the illusion of the trip being our honeymoon and that you'd understand." There it was, in black and white. An admission that they had knowingly and intentionally accepted a gift under false pretenses. The bride now had what she needed. She replied, "No, I don't understand. You took advantage of me and that's not what real friends do. So I'm invoicing you $2,387.53 for the cost of the plane ticket and hotel room. I will give you 30 days and after that I will be taking legal action." Silence. Gemma didn't reply to the message. Instead, her social media began to fill with passive-aggressive quotes. Posts about entitled friends. Vague warnings about snakes in your life. The bride refused to engage. She ignored the posts and quietly began getting her documents in order for the lawsuit she now felt was inevitable. And here's where the story takes a turn from a simple tale of betrayal into the truly bizarre. Just as the bride was preparing her case, a message from Gemma arrived. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an offer to pay. It was a 3-page document. A document Gemma called an audit of their financial and emotional contributions to the friendship, dating from 2015 to the present. The bride stared at it in disbelief. Gemma had itemized every dinner or lunch they had ever shared, estimating a cost of $18 per meal. She billed for gas money for driving to and from hangouts over the years. She included a birthday gift from 2017, now claiming it had put her into debt. She even put a price on emotional support. After the bride's father had passed away, she had called Gemma once to talk about it for about 30 minutes. Gemma had now billed this as providing grief counselor services. The list went on. A charge for her labor for helping the bride move apartments one time. And the final line item. A charge for the emotional distress caused by the threat of litigation. Gemma's grand total? $2,412.09. It was, conveniently, just over $25 more than the invoice the bride had sent her. Gemma's message concluded that if they were really going to keep score, it was actually the bride who owed her $24.56. The audacity was staggering. The bride thought back on their friendship. Yes, Gemma had sometimes paid for lunch when they were in college, but she had more than returned the favor with gifts and meals once she graduated and had a stable income. She remembered the times she had let Gemma stay at her house when she and John were fighting. She remembered the hours she had spent listening, offering a shoulder to cry on during Gemma's own difficult times. But apparently, in Gemma's eyes, being a friend was now a billable service. Faced with this delusional accounting of their entire history, the bride felt a wave of pure anger. But she knew a response would only escalate a pointless argument. Instead of typing out the furious reply she wanted to send, she simply reacted to the message with a thumbs down emoji. She would say nothing more. She would let the 30-day deadline expire, and then, she would let the courts handle the rest. This is a story with so many layers of betrayal. There's the initial act of skipping the wedding, which is a deep wound in itself. But it's the reaction that followed that is most revealing. Gemma didn't just betray a friend, she attempted to rewrite the entire history of their friendship into a transactional ledger. By sending that invoice, she tried to claim that her support was never freely given, but was instead a service rendered, with a bill waiting to be collected. A friendship cannot be itemized on a spreadsheet, and compassion does not have a price tag. But we want to know what you think. Was taking her to court the right move, or a step too far? And when a decade of friendship is reduced to a 3-page audit, is there anything left to save? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.